Hey everybody, today we're talking about section 6 in the Prophecy Pro's Illustrated Guide to Tough Questions about the End Times. And section 6 is all about the tribulation period. Sometimes it's referred to as the Day of the Lord or Daniel's 70th week. It's a 7-year period of time where God's judgment falls on the earth. And there's major questions about that. There's different views, that kind of thing. So we tackle all those things in this section on the tribulation period.
Yeah, it's a horrible time. Let's not pull any punches here. I mean, you read, and that's the part of Revelation that people typically kind of get freaked out about because God does pour out his seal, trumpet, and bowl judgments during that time. It's payback time. And the Bible does say that in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, because they did not believe in the love of the Lord Jesus Christ and his gospel, that God begins to send them a deluding influence, and he begins to pour out his wrath on planet Earth, which is one reason why the urgency of our time is so important, Todd, because we don't want people to go through that horrible time, and there's really no reason to have to go through it. But he does pour out his wrath during that time, and it's going to be a time, Jesus said, unlike any other time that's ever happened on planet Earth.
Yeah, I think there's some people get the idea that, it's just going to be kind of like it is now, but even worse. Or, even now with what's happened the past couple of years, some people have even speculated we're already in the tribulation. Yeah. No, this does not hold a candle to how crazy it's going to be in the tribulation period. And we, like you said, we covered that in the specific judgments, and there's some key mid-trib events. And then we talk about, different characters in that era, like the 144,000, the 2 Jewish witnesses, other key figures, and of course one we'll talk about in an upcoming video, because there's a whole section on that key figure. But it's God's judgment. A lot of people also wonder, why does God have judgment? Grace and wrath. If he's a God of grace, there has to be a time where he makes everything right, where he punishes sin, and that's the tribulation period.
Yeah, it really is. And as you think about the tribulation period, one of the things we have to keep in mind is that we don't believe the church is going to be a part of that. People say, well, isn't that just kind of like you just wanting to escape the trouble? It's like, well, yeah, yes. I want to escape the trouble. I want to escape God's judgment. Of course I do. But the Bible tells us that God's wrath is not meant for us. In fact, that we are not destined for his tribulation wrath, but rather for rescue through the rapture. And so I don't believe that we as the church are going to be around during that time. We're going to be in heaven, and we're going to be receiving our rewards in heaven and celebrating the marriage supper of the Lamb and having a great time with him there. But down here on earth, it's going to be a different story. If COVID was a shakeup of planet Earth, let me tell you, the tribulation period is going to be COVID on steroids. COVID is a sneeze compared to what's going to happen. So it really is a very sobering thing. And, part of when you study that, Todd, about the tribulation, you learn something about the character of God. You learn something about the character of man. You learn something about the activity of Satan. You learn something about the promises of Jesus. You learn something about heaven. There's so much to learn when you go to Revelation 4 through 19. And so there's a section of the Bible we didn't want to miss tackling for you guys because there's so many lessons there and truths to learn.
Yeah. And as we mentioned in earlier videos, also with this, is we do mention the other views in the other videos. And there are good people who disagree and who think that the church has to go through a half or all of the tribulation period. We do not hold that view, and we present all of them for you to study yourselves. But we cover this 7-year time period and equate it with the 70th week of Daniel 9. As we said in the last video, it's all about the Jewish people at that point. God is trying to win his people back. And as Paul says in Romans 11:26, I believe it is, one day all Israel will be saved. That's at the end of the tribulation period. We piece all those puzzle pieces together for you. We give you all the verses to look up, and we tackle the top 10 questions about the tribulation period.
Yeah, you're not going to want to miss that section. And it's also, again, these are things that you can take and use as devotions, but not just devotions. You could use them as Bible studies. People are taking Todd's books, my books, and turning them into Bible studies for small groups, for Sunday school classes, that type of thing. And we're excited to do that for you. So use these things any creative way you see fit. Check out this new book.